UFC 312, the pay-per-view to kick off February, the second pay-per-view of the year. On paper, not very interesting at all, but in the end, played out rather well for the UFC. Lots of fun fights from top to bottom. Not a lot of name value, not a lot of international talent, a lot of homegrown Australian talent on the card, but it was a fun one, and ultimately, DRICUS du Plessis retains the belt at middleweight, and ZHANG WEILI retains her belt at strawweight. Taking a look at the card from top to bottom here, we'll look at the entire thing and break it all down very quickly in a news format. Get it to you all quickly and concisely. DRICUS du Plessis defeating Sean Strickland via 5-round unanimous decision. DRICUS du Plessis was the slight favorite coming into this one. Sean Strickland in the rematch. Could he do something different? It appears that now after the fight, he could not change it up enough to get the win. DRICUS du Plessis retains the middleweight strap. Sean Strickland had a very, very bad broken nose in the 4th round. DRICUS du Plessis was likely up 3-0, then up 4-0 after that Sean Strickland cut, which we can find right now. Sean Strickland will look for his cut. It was a pretty gnarly one. He busted his nose right open. It was bleeding from both sides of the nose, broken, twisted up. Let's see if we can find a good image of it, but we can find some memes along the way. Sean Strickland promoting the fight as a war. We're going to go to war. But ultimately, the only person that went to war and went through hell was Sean Strickland himself. He did not put the type of beating that he wanted to on DRICUS du Plessis. Here is his nose covered in blood, just an absolute mess for Sean Strickland to deal with. Now, after the fight, Khamzat, of course, looming. He took out Robert Whittaker back at UFC 308 very quickly, very suddenly, within 30 seconds, had snatched up Robert Whittaker's neck and broken his jaw. He is the #1 contender. On the commentary, they said that Khamzat will likely be next. Khamzat playing right into that, and DRICUS wants a part of it. We've heard DRICUS talk about this. He didn't even want the Sean Strickland fight, but he took it because that's what the UFC gave him, and he wanted to stay active. Khamzat, can he fight outside of the Middle East, outside of Russia? We don't know yet, but he responded to this fight saying, it's the biggest bullshit is this fight. DRICUS du Plessis with that devil emoji. Very, very fun matchup here. Can DRICUS withstand the first round barrage of Khamzat and beat him over the course of 5 rounds? We will have to wait and see. On the flip side, we have the women's belt being retained by ZHANG WEILI herself. She defeated Tatiana Suarez via 5-round unanimous decision herself. She stuffed most of Tatiana's takedowns. Tatiana did look good in the first round, almost sunk in that guillotine, but ZHANG WEILI did the work, hit her with some hard shots when they were on the feet, withstood the takedowns, and continued her reign. Not a lot of note there. We thought Tatiana coming into this one could kind of buzz saw her way through ZHANG WEILI like she had done with many others in the strawweight division, but just age and I think injuries caught up to her. She looked a little bit slow tonight and just couldn't get everything going after that first round. And then the rest of the card, obviously, this was the story of the card heading into it. It just was not on the same level that we wanted it to be with all the other cards that are pay-per-views. This was not a pay-per-view worthy card whatsoever, but Taliesin Teixeira, he beat the absolute living shit out of Justin Tafa in the first, 30 seconds, put an elbow right in his face, dented his nose. He went from having a pointed nose to having a completely flat nose. Taliesin Teixeira putting an elbow on a man, and it was absolutely devastating. And then in the fight prior to that, Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo Bellato went to war. Jimmy Crute at one point dropping Bellato. Very impressive here by both guys. It was a war. Bellato was looking like he was going to get outclassed by Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute has been off a long layoff prior to this, had taken a couple years off, had retired, so to speak, but coming back and getting a close win over Bellato. Bellato did try to get back there. He had a Poetan in his corner, much like Sean Strickland did, but ultimately could not do it, and he fell to unanimous decision to Jimmy Crute. And then, of course, there was the Jack Jenkins fight and the Gabriel Santos fight. That was an absolute banger of a fight. Let's get you right to it here to top off the prelims. Absolute phenomenal fight. Gabriel Santos got the submission in the 3rd round. Jack Jenkins did look good early on, but Gabriel Santos just started getting one over on him. He had Charles Oliveira and those guys down there from Brazil in his corner. Very, very impressive there by Gabriel Santos. Probably the most impressive performance, because I thought this was going to be a war back and forth, and he really took it over and made it his fight. And then Tom Nolan and Vyacheslav Borshev, they had a hell of a fight. Vyacheslav Borshev putting it on Tom Nolan in moments in the boxing, but Tom Nolan just mixing it up everywhere. Top down, he wrestled, he used his jiu-jitsu, he used his judo sweeps, he was moving Borshev across the cage, throwing spinning elbows, throwing knees up the middle. This guy was putting everything but the kitchen sink on Vyacheslav Borshev, and he hit him with this fantastic kick you can see right here from the ground. This guy's 6'3" in the lightweight division. Borshev is very tall for the lightweight division at 6'1", but Tom Nolan, he's long, he's lanky. It'd be a real fun matchup to see him up against Jalen Turner next. Tom Nolan got the win over Borshev in that one. And then, of course, there was the Wang Kong fight against, who was it, Bruna Brazil. It was slow. Not a great fight. It was what it was. But ultimately, Ilia Toporia's older brother, 29-year-old Alessandre Topuria, made his debut against Colby Thickness. Colby Thickness just really didn't have a lot for him. He threatened Topuria in moments at times when Topuria was taking it slow, but Topuria hit him with this crazy suplex and just kind of put the pressure on him and got the decision win. Very impressive by Alessandre Topuria. Not sure if I was as impressed as Ilia did in his first fight, but good performance by the other Topuria brother. And then, of course, going back down in the prelims, Cody Steele, the jiu-jitsu ace, made his debut against Rong Zhu, and he had an all-out war. It was a fantastic fight from start to finish. They were slinging it on the feet, but Cody Steele had a takedown, not even a takedown security, excuse me. He grabbed Rong Zhu's leg at one point after getting severely dropped and almost locked up a leg submission after only having a hold of his ankle. He crawled up his leg and almost had him in some kind of an ankle or a knee submission. But this did not work out. Rong Zhu got out of it. But that proved that Cody Steele could use his jiu-jitsu to get the win, except he decided to default back to his power punching, which he has been successful up to this point, but not in the UFC against a guy of the level of Rong Zhu. Rong Zhu, I thought, would likely lose this fight. I thought if Cody Steele mixed it up, used the jiu-jitsu and the boxing on the feet, because he's got great boxing, he looks better than Bo Nickel on the feet, for example. But he decided not to do that, and I think that was very, very foolish. And Cody Steele dropped a decision loss here, showed the toughness, showed the heart, showed the grit, showed the hands on the feet at times against Rong Zhu, but just disappointing performance. Cody Steele's going to be back. Hopefully he just needs to smarten up and mix things up, and he will be an absolute threat for anyone. Of course, there was another fight on the prelims. That was Jonathan Mikalev versus Kevin Jousset. Kevin Jousset just decided to default to losing a decision to Jonathan Mikalev. Kevin Jousset fights out of the CKB camp, okay? But this was very, very disappointing. Mikalev got the job done, barely kind of contested there. I mean, it just wasn't a lot of action. It was decent. It wasn't a terrible fight, but Jousset just resorted to taking the loss there. And of course, Quinlan Salkiel got a 15-second finish over Anshul Jabli. Just went in there in one-shot KO'd this guy, dropped him to the floor. Anshul Jabli woke back up upon hitting the ground and wanted to grab his leg. He fought hard for it, but the dude was out, lost, did not know where he was, and ultimately Quinlan Salkiel gets that first-round knockout. Very impressive to start off the card. But in the end, it was the two title fights that really sold the pay-per-view this time around, and DRICUS got the job done. Zhang WEILI got the job done. Let me know what you guys think about this entire card. Was it worth the $80? I don't think so in my opinion, but you guys let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time.